Hey guys, it's Brandon Haye with the Fantasy Authority, and today we're going to talk about some sleeper tight ends for 2021. The top three tight ends the last few years have been Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, and George Kittle when he's healthy. And going into the 2021, you can add Kyle Pitts into that. And also, I would add Noah Fant and TJ Hawkinson. So those top sits, and then there's a drop off. So for tight ends, I would say if you don't get those first few, then these are some sleeper tight ends that you could get later that could possibly be tight end ones. You can get them much later. So first is Anthony Furtzer with the Tennessee Titans. So as many people know, Jonnu Smith decided to leave in free agency to go to the New England Patriots. And Furtzer is currently in Underdog Best Ball rankings, tight end 15 and going pick 136. So everyone knows the Titans run the ball quite a bit, and it's over 50%, around 53%. And when they pass, 25% of that is to the tight ends. So there's plenty of volume still there. And Ryan Tannehill was 15th in attempts and 4th in red zone touchdowns. And 38% of those targets and touchdowns went to tight ends. And also last year when Furtzer was the main tight end, when Jonnu missed one game and he left early, he had one game where he had 8 catches for 113 yards and a touchdown, another game with 5 catches for 51 yards. So he's more than capable. And last year he had 30% of the snaps with a little over 380 yards and 1 touchdown. And also now that Jonnu is gone, he had over 70% snap share in 12 of his 14 games. So there's plenty of playing time for Furtzer, and he's the highest of these three I'm going to name. And I think he could definitely have a big role in that offense. A.J. Brown is obviously getting the most targets, but they don't really have a second option. I think Furtzer could really be used in the red zone and in the middle of the field for Ryan Tannehill. So the second tight end I'm going to talk about is Gerald Everett. He left the Rams to play for the Seahawks. He's tight end 22 and overall 165. With the Seahawks, Pete Carroll has talked about running the ball more this coming year, but we'll see if that happens. And Russell Wilson was 5th in attempts and 2nd in touchdowns in the red zone last season. 28% of the targets and 20% of the touchdowns in the red zone with Russell Wilson. But the tight ends, they had Greg Olsen last year where he was mostly injured, and Hollister and Disley were there also, but they've battled injuries too. So the Seahawks have really have the two main options in Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, but they need someone in the middle of the field, and I believe Gerald Everett could do that for them. He's battled some injuries with the Rams and has shared some time with Tyler Higbee, and hasn't necessarily been targeted a lot in the red zone for the Rams. But last year he did have 41 receptions, 400 yards, and a touchdown. And just to reference back to the top 12 tight ends, the 12th tight end in PPR last year was Hunter Henry, and he had 145 points, which is 60 catches, 600 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So with more snap share for Everett, he definitely could get around that number. And lastly, the third tight end that I'm going to talk about is Mo Alley-Cox. He plays for the Colts. He did not play college football, but he played college basketball at VCU. He was signed by the Colts in 2017. The first couple years, he had minimal playing time, but last year he had a bump up in playing time and had 31 catches. It was targeted 39 times, had 394 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he was battling time with Trey Burton and Jack Doyle. Trey Burton is a free agent now, and Jack Doyle, if he gets released after June 1st, the Colts would relieve themselves of the salary cap by $4.7 million. So that might be a possibility. And then Alley-Cox would only really have to battle with recently drafted Kyle Granson, who was drafted in the 4th round out of SMU. So the Colts are a very run heavy team, but they do pass the ball more than 50%. They pass to their tight ends 22% of the time. Last year, Philip Rivers was top 10 in attempts, and the tight ends were targeted 31% in the red zone and had 47% of Philip Rivers' touchdowns in the red zone. Also, Ali Kotz only had 48% of the snap share last year, and only 36% of the time he was running routes when he was on the field. So there's a lot of room for him to run more routes, and he was the most efficient of the tight ends in his catch rate percentage. I think he is very sneaky also, because being drafted so late as a second or third tight end on your roster, and with Carson Wentz coming in, he was big at passing to his tight ends in Ertz and Goddard in Philly. So he likes the middle of the field, and with his struggles, he probably wants to target that security blanket in the middle of the field more, a big target that is lined up with some linebackers. There is question whether Wentz threw mostly to the tight end because of the lack of receivers in Philadelphia. So that would be another wrinkle in how much Ali Kotz might get. And also there is talk about if Ertz gets cut, he might go there. But even with adding Ertz, Ali Kotz will still be in line for a lot of targets. I think could be a sneaky pickup at tight end. So those are the 3 sleeper tight ends. So if you like this, please subscribe to the Fantasy Authority, and you can come follow my content out on Twitter at Haye B3. That's HAYE B3. Thank you.